In this tutorial, we're going to cover the principle of alignment that's covered in Chapter 4 under Visual Communication. The principle of alignment encourages designers to position objects that belong together along a common edge or an implied line. Jumping over to Photoshop, let's see how this works. This is a figure from Chapter 4. This is figure 20, and it was used to illustrate how the principle of alignment can be used to enhance the order and the symmetry of a design. So here we have a composite graphic that has four types of elements in it. Along the upper part of the graphic we have these large shapes that are blue and that contain text, a smaller icon, and a button. In the middle we have a subheading that indicates the three main subsections of this particular web page or graphic: investment, marketing, and finance. Below that we have body copy for each of those three areas, and then finally there's a customize button. But just looking at this very quickly with the eye, you can tell that there's very clean edges and lines that have been produced by careful use of alignment tools within a program like Photoshop. And my one really strong piece of advice to you as a designer, someone learning the principles of design, is that if you're going to use alignment, be sure to use it with precision. Be sure to use the tools that are within your design program to make sure that alignment is done accurately. If you're off even a couple of pixels, you can actually create harm in the design, disunity. The viewer will come away scratching his or her head thinking, there's something about this that just doesn't look right. And so if you're going to align left edges and top edges and bottom edges and so forth, make sure that it's done with precision. So to do that, we have a lot of tools at our disposal. I'm going to go to a version of the design where the alignment hasn't yet been put into place, and we'll see what we can do to actually create some alignment. So one of the first things I can do is I can add a guide. A guide is just simply a horizontal or vertical line that's superimposed over the design window to allow the designer to attach objects to it as a reference point. So in Photoshop I can hover over the ruler, either the horizontal ruler or the vertical ruler, and I can just simply drag and drop a guide into place. And we'll bring a guide down and we'll put it right about there. And I'm going to go to the left ruler and I'm going to bring out a guide for the left edge here. I'll bring out another one for the middle column, and I'll bring out one last one for the third column. And once I have guides in place and I can add and delete guides however much I want, then I can begin to attach objects to that. And one of the tools that we use for that is a feature of most design programs called snapping. If I zoom in and go down into my view menu, you can see that one of my options is to have snapping turned on. When this is selected, I can take an object and I can move that object, and once it comes into close proximity to either a horizontal or vertical guide, it just sort of snaps in place like a magnet. It's attracted to it, and it's a great way to make sure that the alignment is perfect. So in just a matter of seconds, I've gone ahead and created horizontal and vertical alignment for the first element in our design. Let me pick up the next blue shape, select it, and I'll do the same thing. We'll align it there, and I'll do the same thing for the third object. So that's the first way that I can align objects, and it's one that is used all the time. When I'm ready to clear my guides, just so that they're not a visual distraction while I'm working, I can go up to View, choose that menu command, go down, and just say Clear Guides. And all the guides go away, they disappear. Alright, so another thing I can do is I can turn on a background grid that works kind of the same way as guides. It's just that it's more complex. It's a grid made up of many horizontal and vertical lines that become additional attachment points for objects within the design. So to do that, I'm going to go back up to View, Control Z so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to turn on the grid. Now once I do that, a grid appears. Now again, just keep in mind, if I save this as a graphic, that grid is not going to appear. It's only for my benefit as the designer. It's not going to be saved to the file containing this design down the road, so you don't have to worry about turning it off later. And this works in much the same way, except it gives me a little bit more flexibility because it divides the entire design window into an evenly spaced matrix of horizontal and vertical lines forming these cells and these areas that I can be very precise with in my design. So I'm going to do the same thing. This time I'm going to go back up to my blue icon, because now I have a little bit more space to work with, and I'm going to position that now right up in here. And I don't know if you can notice it from the tutorial, but I am getting some snapping action again like I was getting before. And I'm going to snap that there. I'm going to take this one and snap it right there. And I'll zoom in here just so you can see what I'm doing, but right along this edge you can see where the upper left hand corner of this element within the design is snapped horizontally to the line above it, and it's snapped vertically to the line to the left. So this is a really cool way of, again, just ensuring that your design is perfectly aligned. And I'll do the same thing with the last one here, and we'll take that up and snap it into place, and voila, we have it perfectly aligned. You can also adjust the spacing of the grid. If I go up to Photoshop and I come down to Preferences, and under Preferences I choose Guides, Grid, and Slices, I can make changes to the structure of the grid. Right now the grid is set to appear every 250 pixels. There's a major line, and then there's 5 dividing areas within that. So if you come over here, you can see that from the edge of the left hand side to the first major blue line, that's 250 pixels, and then there's 5 spaces in between each one of those. So each square in this grid is a 50 by 50 pixel area. I can change that to something different. I can say, well, let's just double that and go 500 pixels, and let's go maybe to 4. And every time I make a change here, it affects the grid over here. So it really doesn't matter what you do. You can customize the grid to your liking, but it's a useful tool for creating a grid system within the design window so that you can make sure that everything is aligned correctly. I'm just going to go ahead and go back to 250 because I actually liked that, and we'll go back to the 5 since that's how it was aligned before. So now I'm back to where I was. These are great tools, and they're very helpful, but I can also do one other thing. I'm going to go down and turn my grid off, and the grid goes away. And so for the final thing that I want to show you, I'm going to select the 3 subheadings here: Investment, Marketing, and Finance, over in my Layers panel. And I'll select Investment, hold my Shift key down, go to Finance, and hold that Shift key down. And all 3 of those layers are now selected, so whatever I apply to them, it's going to apply it to them as a group. And so now with those 3 elements selected, I can go up to my options bar at the top of my Photoshop window to my alignment tools. And by the way, these tools are pictured in Chapter 9 under Figure 23. These are the default Photoshop alignment tools. Very similar tools like this appear in other programs. The first tool is Align Top Edges. So if I want to align the top edges of these 3 elements in the design space, I just simply click this. And that helps me very quickly to align those. Just to show you that again, let's go over to our menu. This time I'm going to choose the body copy. So we'll hold down my Shift key and we'll choose the investment copy, marketing copy, and finance copy. Go back up to our alignment tools. And this time I'm going to choose top edge again, and look what happens. Now all 3 of those are perfectly aligned on their tops. Now the last thing that remains is to align the elements vertically within each of these 3 columns. So to do that, I have to select this element, the subheading right here, or the heading, and then the body copy. And just for fun, I'll go ahead and do the Customize button as well. So I'm going to pick the first blue icon, hold down my Command key, and I will select the investment heading, the investment copy, and I'll choose button number 1. And now when I go to my alignment tools and choose Align Left Edge, all 4 of those elements are now in perfect alignment with each other. So guys, this is very quickly an introduction to how you can use alignment tools within a design program like Photoshop to create precise alignment of elements within a composite design. Use the tools. Don't go by your eye. Your eye usually isn't good enough to be able to discern between a precise alignment and one that's off by 1 pixel or 2. Sometimes your eye can miss that, and those subtle misses are often what distinguish an amateur job from a professional job. So use these tools. Again, they are guides for just individual horizontal or vertical guides to attach elements to. You also have the grid as an overlay over your design window to give you a lot more flexibility as far as attachment points for horizontal and vertical alignment. And then finally you have the alignment and distribution tools up in the options bar of Photoshop.